Hello, Hilary. Welcome to our creative conversations. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's so great to see you too.
And where are you coming from today? Where are you beaming out from?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York, in my little apartment.
Nice. And so, Hilary, performer, teacher, queen extraordinaire, you came to us in 2016, we said, didn't we? Which, yeah, it doesn't feel that long ago, but I really remember that year. We all really remember that year with fondness because it was the year of Hilary Chaplain, Sean Houston, and it was just a lovely time. And you were at our comedy conference, you spoke at that, and you led a workshop, which was great, and performed as well. So yeah, it's lovely to see you, and hopefully we can bring you back one day to Liverpool.
I hope so. I have something else for you. I have a couple of things over the years. So
lovely. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking to artists about the this mysterious thing, the creative process, and just asking them what their creative process is and what that means to them. So yeah, what is that for you?
Well, I've done a lot of different kinds of pieces that I've devised, and I think all of them come from very different places. I mean, sometimes it'll come from a prompt. I'll be in a workshop, and I am a workshop junkie. I love taking workshops. I love putting myself in that position to fail really miserably and to succeed gloriously. And I find workshops are actually a great place for generating material if it's some kind of a workshop where we are creating. And I find prompts really really helpful. A Life in Her Day, which is my full-length solo show, came from, it originally was, it started in a writing workshop where I was going to write different characters and do kind of a Whoopi Goldman, Tracy Ullman kind of show. And as I was writing my stories, they all seemed to be about being a clown. And so, but I wanted to be an actress. I never wanted to be a clown. And so, and I was physical theater. I did a lot of mime, but clown really wasn't on my mind. But I kept working as a clown. And so this show ended up being about a woman who goes to New York to be an actress and ends up as a clown and finally accepts herself as a clown. And people thought the work was really wonderful, but they kept saying, okay, but why don't you just do a clown show?
Right.
So I threw away most of the material and worked on a clown show. And I started that by going to a workshop with Avner Eisenberg. Or I had been to some workshops with him, and he'd given us some prompts like a morning ritual. And that morning ritual that I worked in that workshop is still the beginning of my show. He said, do a musical number. And I decided to play with marshmallows, singing with marshmallows in my mouth. And that's in that show. We played with paper towels, creating things out of paper towels. And that's a major part of my show now. So prompts from workshops and exercises are certainly one of the ways that I create. The Shakespeare number, actually, that I did at your festival, that piece, I used to do that monologue for auditions, the serious Shakespeare monologue. And then I thought, I've got to show these people what I can do that's different than any other actor. And I had been doing something with all of these accidents with another friend in a duo number. And I just got the idea, put the two together. And in fact, when I did that, that's what finally helped me to understand that I really am a clown. And that a clown is that I'm a clown and I don't have to look like any other clown, because I saw a lot of fabulous performers, mostly male, in those early days, who were working as clowns, and I loved what they did, but I just didn't see myself fitting into that. And I certainly wasn't a circus clown. And I did birthday parties, but I didn't want to be a birthday party clown. And I finally understood that this grown-up woman who puts herself together to go out and do something fabulous and has all kinds of problems and has the dignity just pulled right out from under her and does everything she can to maintain that again. That was actually a clown. And so that was a thrill to understand that when I'm a clown, I look like me.
Mhm.
And I do the material that comes out of me. Uh, I'm working on another piece now, two new shows. Both are ensemble shows. Well, one is a duo. The first one, The Last Rat of Theresienstadt, was inspired by a trip to Theresienstadt in Czechoslovakia, which was a ghetto town, kind of a concentration camp during World War II. And I wanted to do it. It was just the children's art and the lives of the people in this town, and the children's art, all of the art and lectures and music and theater and cabaret and painting that was going on was so incredible to learn about. I decided to work on a show with a good friend of mine, and that show never happened, but it then morphed into another show that was inspired by a lecture I saw by a cook, a guy who had been a cook at the camp. It was inspired by a prop that I found, which was a rat puppet. It's about 1 foot tall, and inspired by the stories that I read. I did a lot of research on the camp, on the war, on survivors, on the art, on the humor. And so it's a play with music, humor, puppetry, um, projections, and live theater. And so that, and then I worked with an ensemble and we did a lot of improvisation. You know, we all read a lot, and then we said, well, what if the characters, I decided it was a story between a woman and a rat, a cook and a rat, a cook who is a cabaret performer. And then so we came up with a lot of different possibilities and just kept putting it on stage and improvising. We had a director in the room all the time who works in devised theater. And so we came at it that way. The other show is more based on a theme of being a woman in comedy, being a grown-up woman, being a woman getting older and doing comedy. And we're working on it with Aitor Basauri of Spy Monkey and my friend CB Goodman, who's in Austin, Texas. So we're coming from 3 different places, so it's tough. We get together for a week or 2 at a time. Now it's been a very long time. We were supposed to actually open the show a year ago. I would have been in Austin for 3 weeks rehearsing and then a 3-week run. So the show is still quite unfinished, but well, I'd say we're more than halfway. But we just threw around a lot of ideas, and again, it was on our feet improvising. Aitor giving us prompts, us giving each other prompts. What if? And not saying no to anything. I mean, that's a really super important thing. We all had bad ideas. We all had great ideas. And you just have to play with the bad ideas and see if because any idea can become something good. Just you just have to commit to it. So it was a big lesson in this one because I kind of felt like I was bad a lot of the time, but I had 2 other people saying, no, actually you're doing good. But I mean, we're getting stuff out of this. We were also in that one, we're dealing with breaking boundaries and dealing with taboos and going farther with this material than I ever have with anything in my life. The boldness, and it's really interesting because I think it's time for that in my life. You know, I feel like as a performer, I've been pretty safe, and The Last Rat is very edgy in that it uses humor dealing with the serious subject of the Holocaust, but it is very respectful of the Holocaust, of the survivors, of the work that was done there, of the horrors that happened. the humor makes it more palatable and it reaches people in a really deep place. This other show called Bite Me, we're dealing with, we're using Snow White as kind of a running theme through it and using toy theater and green screen. And we play the characters and we have Barbie and Ken dolls as the characters. But we're going farther than I ever have as far as, what's risky for me.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. And I have two people with me who are used to going much further than I am. And they're they're really supporting that. And they're making me much more comfortable and helping me to understand that it's time
Yeah.
to take big grown-up steps,
That sounds really exciting. And do you always have like with when you're making work, you mentioned different directors and people in the room. Do you always have collaborators? Have you always worked with?
No, I do, in that even if it's excuse me, even if it's a solo piece, I like working with somebody in the room. And so I've worked with a lot of different people, sometimes in a workshop situation where everybody's watching each other's work, and sometimes on a one-on-one. And I am not a performer who can go into a room alone and just start working. I'm envious of that. I say I'm not, and it's because I don't do it. I don't make myself go into a room. If I did, I might find that I am that kind of person. And certainly I have to rehearse things on my own all the time. And I do find that if I just start playing, things start happening. I find new material. I find new ideas. I'm inspired. But so I don't know if it's a fear of ending up in a room and not having any ideas, or if it's a matter of not being disciplined enough in that way, and of course I make myself very busy so that I don't have the time. I don't have the time unless I book the space and I'm committed to another person. That's something I do, is, I'll book time with somebody and then I have to show up, and I do show up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I haven't spoken to many people who can go into a room on their own, actually. There's lots of solo work, but I mean, I couldn't do it either. I just felt really bizarre. I thought, what am I going to do? I felt like really, yeah, it was very strange.
I'm so relieved to hear you say that.
There's no witness to this. Like,
I have a friend who used to rent a space once a week, and she would just go in and play.
yeah,
And there are plenty of people who do, but I'm glad to hear that I'm saying this.
yeah, I think it's just. I mean, for me, it's a collaborative thing. That I feel that. Excuse me, just knocked something over.
Yeah. I mean, that's the joy of the work, is that it's collaborative, and that's why I'm so excited to be working with other people. I toured The Last Rat. It's called The Last Rat of Theresienstadt. We toured it. We've had about 15 performances in 4 countries, and oh my God, to travel with somebody else, to walk into a theater with other people and set it up and take it down and go home and talk about it. Performing on the road alone it's so much easier in some ways, because I've only got my schedule to deal with and my idiosyncrasies, but it's lonely. It's hard.
Yeah. And how long were you working? You said a little bit about your journey, but I was just interested in, like, you were working as an actress for many years before you kind of went into.
Well, I worked as a sort of physical theater artist, popular theater, using mime, using clown, using physicality, for many, from the beginning. When I was in high school, I took a mime class, and then I went and studied with this man Tony Montanaro in the summers up at Celebration Barn Theater in Maine, which still exists and offers fabulous workshops. And anybody listening to this, just Google Celebration Barn and come to the US and study, because it's a magical place. So that was very early on that I started working with Tony, and I loved this world of physical visual theater. And in Tony's world, it didn't exclude anything. You could sing, you could dance, you could speak. I think that's very much the same as your kind of world of physical theater, right? And so all through college and afterwards, I was always in both worlds. I never had a real successful career as an actress, but I did do I had a few great gigs. I got to go to Broadway with a show that had been in the park, in Shakespeare in the Park. But I was on stilts. That's how I got that job. Part of the time I was part of an ensemble, and we did very physical stuff, and got into that. So it was actually after that show that I decided, as much as I love doing what we call legit theater, and I would love to do some more theater, film, TV. At that point, I realized that one of the really difficult things about being as an actor is that you don't have control over who you work with, or you don't have much, but who you work with, who your director is, who your cast is, and it can be great, and it can be really difficult. And there are also, there are 500 people who could audition for the same role that I would be auditioning for. So that doesn't give you the opportunity to work as much. And like I said, I grew up going to the Celebration Barn and studying with Tony, and then mime in Paris. And I was always around people who were creating their own work. And I was always creating my own work at the same time. So finally, after the Broadway show closed, I decided and that was in 96, I decided I'm just going to do my own work, and I'll see how it goes. If it doesn't go, I'll find something else to do. Nice. But it was a great decision.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm kind of in this new demographic. And maybe I'll get some legit theater again. Maybe I'll go out for some other things.
So what also, obviously, this crazy year we've just had, and you've got this new show that's ready to start up again. And do you think that your process might change, or your way of making work might change in the future, or will it be like reset of where you were before the pandemic?
I think for the kind of work that I'm doing, it's pretty much a reset. We did not work on Bite Me through this year because it wasn't something we felt we could do on Zoom. We really had to be in the room together. The Last Rat has just been kind of sitting there. I'm actually taking a marketing class now, working up to getting things back out there. This was a very different year for me. I took some really terrific classes, which was, it was thrilling how you could find such intimacy on Zoom. Sometimes quicker and more so than when you're in the room. It's very different. And we found a lot of joy and a lot of fun in working in Zoom. I took an acting class, I took a mime class, I took a bouffon, a short little bouffon thing, clown workshop. And that's been great. I have not taught much on Zoom, and kind of felt like I should have, because the wonderful thing about it is you can work with people all over the world, and you don't have to pay the airfare. People don't have to find a place to stay. You can just do it from your home, and you really can teach a lot, and you can really learn a lot. However, for me this year, I just had a lot of other personal things going on in my life, family things. My mom passed away a little over a year ago, before COVID, thank God, and at a very elderly age. But that was the last parent, and family matters are complicated. And so I was fortunate, I guess, to be able to take this year to deal with all those things, which puts me in the clear now to get back to what I do. But yeah, I think Zoom collaborations, I can see doing it because I've certainly worked on acting scenes and clown scenes for my classes. Uh, but frankly, I don't really want to go there. Like being in the room. Avner Eisenberg, aka Avner the eccentric, he says, he loves what he does, but he gets a little tired of the commute because he works out of the he has in the past worked out of the United States so much more than in. And I get that now. Doing a lot of traveling does get hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm kind of hungry to travel again now, but I actually quite enjoyed being a little bit in a place, just settling.
Isn't
And
it?
quite nice, yeah. But also, like I didn't either do the teaching on Zoom, but sometimes it's nice just to say, actually, I'm gonna let I don't have to do that. I can, do other things. I can take part, and yeah, the pressure.
Yeah, this was a great year of I don't have to do that because I put a lot of pressure on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself to go out and see theater.
Mhm.
I'm often out like 4 or 5 nights a week seeing other people's work, or that's sometimes it's obligation theater where I really should go see that, and sometimes it's just for my own, really truly for my own pleasure. But yeah, so this year was kind of nice just to say, it's Saturday night, and what are we doing? Staying home.
Yeah. And yeah, that leads me on to like kind of inspiration, because just thinking about going to see work, and yeah, sometimes a lot of the time actually it's felt like you have to go and do these things, and sometimes you get real inspiration where you don't expect, and that's lovely. But for you, what's this kind of, it's also a big thing, isn't it? Inspiration. It's like asking about creative process, but like where do you find it? Do you look for it? Do you just let it come when it comes? Or
I guess it's just always so different that it's hard to think about it. Sometimes I'll watch something, we've been watching some old Lucille Ball. I love Lucy episodes. Do you know that program?
Lucy. Oh, I
Lucille
love
Ball.
Lucy.
I love Lucy.
Yeah.
Anybody out there, if you haven't seen I Love Lucy, go to YouTube. Lucille Ball is really, I mean, I just adored her as a kid, and I would say she's probably my greatest influence. So we were watching an early episode. It ran in the 50s for 6 seasons, I think. Watched an early episode, and she's such a clown. It's such beautiful work. And so, I try to watch things. That is another thing. This year, I didn't watch a lot of work online. I started to, but I don't know. I didn't do it. But inspiration, boy, it just comes from so many different things. Sometimes an idea will come, like I said, out of visiting Theresienstadt. It'll come from watching something on TV. It'll come from seeing something happen on the street, just watching people, books, my own personal accidents, because I do trip up in my own life at times, and that can be great fodder for creating something.
Yeah. Nice. Just life in general, I guess, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
it's
in general.
and
But watching other people's work is so important for inspiration, I think. So
yeah.
often you can watch a piece. I have a friend, Drew Richardson, who's a clown and a teacher, he did a little workshop once where we chose something to watch, or he gave us some choices. We copied it, which is a great practice, to copy the mood, the movements, the feeling, the relationship, the expressions of, say, a comic performer who you love, or who's new to you, and do their bit, whether it's solo or with another person, and then transform it into something of your own. Change it bit by bit, just keep changing it so that it's no longer Mr. Bean, having trouble with getting his clothes off underneath his putting his bathing suit on, but it becomes about you trying to get ready for an event, but and having problems with your clothing. So that's a great way to find inspiration, is to copy the greats.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great exercise, actually.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of inspiration, then, who is your biggest inspiration? You mentioned some of them.
Yeah, Lucille Ball for sure. Lucille and Carol Burnett. It was a lot of early television, because that's what I saw. And then, well, when I was 11, my parents took us to England, to London. And I already knew at age 10, I don't know how, but I did a couple little plays in school, and then I wanted to be an actor. And my mom had me audition for something. It was a very avant-garde experimental theater company in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we did this rewritten version of The Little Mermaid. It was Three Little Mermaids. And it was all movement theater. We were a rock and we became the ocean, and we had these gauzy costumes, and it was very prosaic, the language. And I said, yep, this is what I'm going to do. So when I was 11, we went to London, and I saw the Canterbury Tales, this most wonderful production where it was all very physical, and the visuals, like the bed was standing up and they would come into the bed, which ended up in my show 40 years later. So seeing that kind of work was exciting. Shakespeare in the Park, we saw Midsummer Night's Dream in Regent's Park. And I mean, it's just the play within the play, the comedy, the costumes, the craziness of it, that really appealed to me. So Wild Oats with, I think, John Gielgud. And then, and Fiddler on the Roof with Topol. And that, of course, that for me, I'm Jewish, I'm very secular Jew, but something about that music just touches so deeply, and that story. So those things were that was a big influence on me, that trip. And then as I got old, when I started seeing clowns, I saw Avner the Eccentric, I saw Bob Berkey, I saw the Litzaje, who were a company out of I think they're out of St. Petersburg. It was Slava Polunin's original group, but there were like 20 of them. And I saw them, I think there were maybe 8 or 10 of them. And that work was magnificent. And Balek Polivka, we had some festivals in the US where we got to see some of these people. And Gardy Hooter. Gardy Hooter and Julie Goel, Avner's wife. I mean, there just weren't that many women to see. My mom had seen Nola Ray in Hong Kong and told me about her, was very excited about her. But I didn't see her until years later.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. So I've got a few questions that I've just asked everyone, which one of them was about inspiration. And the other one is, where are you most creative? Where or when?
God, that's the first time I've been asked that one. Where or when? Yeah. Lag. I guess I would have to say when I'm, because I do it as much as I can, when I'm in a workshop, when I'm in a workshop, or when it's just a group of us playing, all in a collaborative situation, for
Mm.
sure, and with a guide, whether it be a colleague or a teacher who I really trust,
Mm.
and I'm able to just let go and be good, be bad, be an idiot, be whatever.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I haven't done it for so long in the room, like a workshop where you just, I don't know, sometimes I get the feeling that I really remember something, and just the excitement, the spirit, the bodies, and you're like, ah, yeah, now I feel like that, like I can relate to what you're saying, that creative place, being there. Uh,
Yeah.
and uh, who or what keeps you going?
Hmm. Well, certainly the audience, you know. I never thought I would ever say, I could give up theater. I'm I could I could retire. And I still can't. But over the years, I do less than I used to. Partly because I don't take gigs. I'm not going to be an elf at a Christmas party ever again. And I'm not going to be a face painter. And I total respect for all of that. It made me a living, but I'm not doing that anymore. But even in those situations, and in the hospitals, working with people, is the connection with the audience, whether it's one kid sick in a bed, or a filled theater, or a person at a cocktail party and I'm playing a character, whatever it is. It's making that connection with other people. I think that really makes this work a joy, and being able to give people the opportunity to laugh.
Mm.
It's pretty thrilling.
Yeah, it's so nice. We need some laughter. We need you back. We need you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And actually, I have to say, with The Last Rat, it is also very gratifying to make people cry,
Mm.
because the reason they're crying is a story that is so important.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you work, how much do you change your work as you go, like in terms of that audience reaction, audience uh, feedback, or live feedback, what you feel from it?
All the time, all the time. I mean, a piece, I don't, if anybody has seen my triangle player, that piece doesn't change as much, because with the audience, it does just within itself, because of it's all timed to music, generally timed to music. And I don't work off of the audience as much, although over time I've used them more in that piece. But most of my work really is directed to the audience, and uses the audience really as a partner.
Mhm.
And so it's dependent on their reactions, and it changes all the time because of them. No performance will be the same,
Mm.
which is part of what keeps me going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It makes it so much fun. That play that we did, the Shakespeare that went to Broadway, there were a couple of performers who were Juilliard trained, which is one of our top schools,
Mhm.
and they figured out how they would play those characters and play the scene. And I heard it every day, and it always sounded the same. I thought, oh my God, how could somebody play a role over and over and over, and for it not, and have it be the same every time? You have to be present in the moment. Every day you're a different person. Every time you look at your partner, you see something
Mm.
real in that moment. And so it has to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so going off that, my last question was, um, can you think of your favorite memory of performing? Is there a particular moment, place, time where you, or
Ah. Hmm. You know, no, but wow, I wonder if it was at your festival when I was doing my character with the mask, the 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 worker, the cleaner, and I threw a banana peel. And then as I started to walk off, I just looked at it and looked at the audience like, yeah, somebody's going to slip on this banana peel. And I think that was a new moment that evening. And it's moments like that that are my favorite. So that's one of probably many. I don't know if I have, just thinking off the top of my head, I can't think of a favorite moment. I will as soon as we hang up.
That's okay.
All right.
Is there anywhere that you haven't been that you'd like to perform? I mean, you must have
Ah,
a lot of places.
yeah, sure, plenty. Um, uh, God, I can't think of any in specifically right. Oh yes, Charles de, what is it called? There's a puppet festival, Charlemont in France, that is one of the biggest puppet festivals in the world. And I would love to take actually either of my new shows there because both have puppetry. And I've never performed in Edinburgh. My
Wow.
plan my plan last summer was to go as a punter and just feel it out what it's like now. I was there back in 81, just seeing shows, to feel it out, to meet people, and to start setting things up for this summer. And the plan was to take the last rat there this summer and bite me next summer. And now I that's just all. I mean, Edinburgh isn't happening at all this year, is it? Is it?
In some way, I've just heard that it is, I think,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But
Oh,
I don't know in what form, not in the usual way, I guess, with like
yeah.
it's incredible, like just so many people, so many shows, and yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to do Edinburgh with a show. I chose not to do it with my solo show because it would cost so much and I'd be alone. I'd have to bring somebody else with me. And I just thought, oh, it's such a lonely thing to do. I just decided at the time, rather than spend the money to do Edinburgh, I would just try to get work.
mm,
And that's what I did. But now with the last rat, I think it would be really, and bite me, it'd be
yeah,
really great to do Edinburgh.
great. Well, we hope we see you in Edinburgh. And so immediately now, there's something you're getting to work away, aren't you? You're going to Portugal.
I am. I'm going to Portugal, the Bolina International Women's Clown Festival. I don't know what Bolina means, but it's in they've had it in different spots. This year it's in Castelo de Vide, which is near Porto Alegre, and it's a women's clown festival. I'll be teaching physical comedy. The classes are open to men and women, and I'll be in a cabaret with my Shakespeare number, and I'll see a lot of other people perform. I'll also be in Porto for a couple of days and teach a workshop there for a couple of days. And
Nice.
I'm so looking forward to meeting all these Portuguese clowns who I haven't met before.
Yeah, a women's clown festival sounds great.
Oh, they're so much fun. They're so great. There are a number of them around the world, and they're great.
Brilliant. It's so nice to talk to you and see you, and I hope that yeah, I hope we can see you again at Physical Fest in
So I so
Liverpool.
hope so. I loved being there. I loved it. So
Thank you so much.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great festival this year, everybody.